We go? Okay. Do you bang gap? Okay. I'm gonna bang that gavel down. Okay. The meeting of the Public Safety Commission has been called to order. We begin to acknowledge that the land on which we gather, and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Kizh people. Item 2 on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair Post will be leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Check. Item number 3, roll call. May I please get a roll call, Commission Secretary?
Commissioner Eng,
Here.
Commissioner Hallman,
Here.
Commissioner Polarski,
Here.
Commissioner Winnick,
Here.
Vice Chair Post,
Here.
Chair Blau.
Here.
We have a quorum, and also wanted to note that Commissioner Harrison is absent for this meeting.
Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda for August 24, 2026? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
May I please get a roll call, Commission Secretary?
Commissioner Eng,
Aye.
Commissioner Hallman,
Aye.
Commissioner Polarski,
Aye.
Commissioner Winnick,
Aye.
Vice Chair Post,
Aye.
Chair Blau.
Aye.
The agenda is approved.
Item 5 on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes for July 27, 2026? Okay. May I please get a, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Great. May I please get a roll call, Commission Secretary?
Commissioner Eng,
Aye.
Commissioner Hallman,
Aye.
Commissioner Polarski,
Aye.
Commissioner Winnick,
Aye.
Vice Chair Post,
Aye.
Chair Blau.
Aye.
The minutes are approved.
Thank you. Item number 6, public comment is on the agenda. Commission Secretary, do we have any speakers at this time? And do we have any callers on Zoom?
We have no Zoom callers, all in chambers. First speaker is Ed Holman. Ed, if you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Ed Holman, Neighborhood Watch Block co-captain of Gelson Heights. I want to share a brief recap and a huge note of gratitude following our recent National Night Out Block Party. First of all, it was an absolute success. We had a packed street, completely ran out of food, cleared out the drinks. It was great to see neighbors that normally wave to each other from across the street out of recognition, sit and converse with each other and exchange contact information, expanding the circle in our community. I want to start my thank yous by thanking the commissioners that stopped by our event. I know I saw some of you there, but and exchange pleasantries, but with the night was such a blur of activity for me, I don't remember who exactly I spoke with, so sorry. Pulling this together takes serious work and resources, so I want to give a huge special thank you to my upstairs neighbor of 29 years and friend with a capital F, Bill Zimniak, for stepping up and securing the funds to pull off this year's event. I also want to give a big shout out to Glenn Myers for getting us the funding last year. Building on that foundation made this year possible. I want to extend a huge thanks to my co-block captain, Gabe Davis, for all of his hard work alongside me in organizing this event, as well as a special thank you to my husband, John Creamer, for taking charge and serving the drinks. A special thank you goes out to the residents of 1114, 1115, 1120, and most of 1123 North Flores. Thank you so much for your grace and patience while your driveways were blocked off for this setup and party. Your support as immediate neighbors means everything. An extra special thank you to Darian Arnold and Erica Estrada for stepping in and helping get the word out to the neighbors in your building after the note was removed from the fence. An event like this takes a village, so I want to recognize our incredible core team, volunteers, and individual donors. David Bowen and Lori, David Grady, Gabe Sanchez, Jim Knoll, Joe LaRusso, Lark and Chris S., Leslie Whitney, Mary Beth Dolan, Rick Hayes, Sam Dean, Trish and Art Dean, Scott Marshall, and William Saab. We're also proud to be supported by our local business donors and partners, Alexis Sampson and management at Hugo's Restaurant, Barry Podab at La Park Suites, Brandon Gray and management from Mike Drop Karaoke, Irwin and management at Gelson's, Mike Farrell and management from Merrick's Tex-Mex for the chips and salsa, the staff at Men's Health Foundation for coming over and talking over to neighbors about your services, Nikita with Drink It for setting up and serving us samples of your delicious matcha drinks, Ojin from SHIT, I broke my phone, Scott from Emerald Village, Slav and Vlad for cooking the brats during the event, and a special shout out to Anita, Shandi, and Jessica Newcomb from Public Safety for getting my questions answered and getting the reimbursements done so quickly. Finally, thank you to Alexandra Dildine with Assembly Member Rick Zaber's office, providing certificates of recognition for our community members. Thank you to the Commission and the City for supporting National Night Out and helping us keep our neighborhoods connected, safe, and strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Next, we have Tom DeMille. Tom, you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Tom DeMille. I'm a 35-year resident of the city of West Hollywood, and I'm a candidate for City Council in November 3rd. It's my 5th time. I've had 35 teachers, 35 mayors who have taught me what I'm about to tell you tonight. I want to tell you a little bit who I am. Who I am is the 7-year-old boy who watched Jack Kennedy get shot to death. I'm the 11-year-old boy who saw Bobby Kennedy be shot to death and Martin Luther King shot to death as my father drank more and more and how America drank more and more. But he kept hitting my mother. Blood everywhere. And my brother, who's older, he wasn't gonna help. And I knew going to the kitchen that day that I was gonna become a man. And I swore at that time when I saved my mother that night, and I never saw my dad again that night. I never saw him again. But that's who I am. I swore that no one ever is gonna raise their hand to me, or no one else is gonna raise their hand to anyone else. And in the city of West Hollywood, we have an epidemic. It's an epidemic. Whether it's fistfights or brawls, or 500 reports to the sheriff every month for domestic violence. Knowing what I just told you, anyone after November 3rd who hits another human being in the city of West Hollywood, our city of West Hollywood, will get a ticket to the judge. I don't care who it is, whether you're married, I don't care. There's no reason to you can raise your hand, but when you hit another human being, you break the city law, you break the county law, you break the United States law. So help me God. I'm not gonna have no wiggle room on that. I just was at City Hall swearing to God. So there's no wiggle room in that. If you hit someone in the city after I'm elected, you're going to jail. I want to talk about the homeless situation. The homeless have a lot of rights in this city. After November 3rd, they're going to have very little rights. And the very little rights are the right to put a business out of business. They're never going to have that in the city. No other city, in the country, or in the world will allow that for a homeless, any human being to put a business out of business. It's never going to happen again. Furthermore, it's Public Safety Week, so it's going to be hot as Dickens this week. Take your children to our new Olympic-sized pool. It's cheap, and I promise you, after I'm elected, I'll get rid of all of the homeless here that are bothering the kids going into the library and to the pool. I got your back. I got the family's back. My name is Tom DeMille. I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Next, we have Sienna Groff. Sienna, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sienna. I'm 19, and I am immensely grateful to have grown up here. I love West Hollywood. Sorry. Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. I'm Sienna. I'm 19. I'm immensely grateful to have grown up in West Hollywood. I love the city deeply, and I'm here to talk about flock cameras. I view them as an existential threat to the community that raised me. We've been told that automated license plate readers are here for our safety, but the data does not reflect that reality. For a $1.47 million no-bid contract, we've received a return of a 12.1% return rate on it this month on 66 stolen car reports. That is 8 cars recovered at $183,000 per car. As a deterrent, flock ALPRs are equally unsuccessful. Research from criminologists at George Mason University show that LPR patrols do not seem to generate either an offense-specific or deterrent effect. But what about in West Hollywood? A decrease in vehicle thefts may look promising, but this is actually a statewide trend, with California car thefts decreasing by the same amount, around 25 to 30%. What is unique to our city, though, is the 186% increase in vehicle parts theft with flock ALPRs in place. The Los Angeles Police Department has jettisoned this technology because it is bad at its job. The real price of flock, though, is in our data. Scans from license plate readers are mapped to a national network, accessible to other departments who are themselves at liberty to make our data available to federal agencies. We know that through this loophole, more than 4,000 inquiries were made into the National Lookup Tool by ICE, ERO, and CBP, giving them access to a nationwide database of the license plate reads and AI-enhanced videos of undocumented drivers. Flock is a tool of deportation. We also know that flock has been used to trace people seeking abortions and gender-affirming care out of state, even in flagrant violation of local shield laws built to protect patient privacy in exactly these cases. When a Texas police department looking for a woman bleeding out in need of emergency care searched flock data with the justification had an abortion search for female, they were accessing scans as far as Illinois. With a camera aimed directly at our Planned Parenthood, this story should horrify you. What I hope to make clear here is that the dangers to data privacy cannot be legislated away. They are inherent in the system itself. The risk is not that West Hollywood police will collaborate with ICE. It is that it only takes one friendly department anywhere in the country for our information to become available. Violations of privacy can even occur within our own district. This was the case in Kansas, North Carolina, and Georgia, where officers used flock database of their cities to stalk their wives and ex-girlfriends. But let us entertain the illusion that an impermeable flock system is possible. Let us imagine that a predatory corporation with a record of targeting immigrants, women, and queer people at the behest of the federal government won't involuntarily release our data as it has done in the past. It is worth considering why flock fails West Hollywood when the implementation is perfect and luck is on our side. Even if they never put trans people accessing gender-affirming care for the first time at risk, or undocumented people reeling from recent detentions at Santa Palma's car walk at a direct risk, they demonstrate that West Hollywood representatives are willing to take a bet against the residents' safety. The fact is, if a perfect flock camera existed half a century ago, we would never have the sanctuary that is West Hollywood in the first place. Queer clubs, safe spaces for refugees, and reproductive health care services don't survive in surveillance zones.
Thank you, Sienna. Thank you, Sienna. Next, we have Robin Berner. Robin, you'll have 3 minutes.
I said I'd be back, didn't I? Flock has a budget of $8.4 billion. The $200,000 fine you have is not a safeguard. It's a subscription fee. It will not stop ICE agents from spying on the immigrant community that live, work, and commute in West Hollywood. Even those who do everything the quote-unquote right way have been detained and held in detention centers. I myself am a foreign adoptee from Russia, and in the early 2000s, I had my own encounter with DHS and ICE. This is the first time I am sharing this story publicly, and I know that I could very well be put at risk for sharing this. My mother and I were both setting sail on a Disney cruise to the Bahamas, and we were both stopped by ICE and detained briefly for several hours. I was so scared and confused, and as an adult looking back on this moment, I think about all the horrible things that could have happened. What if I was a person of color? What if the agents decided to take me away from my mother? Flock cameras are not helping support public safety under this current administration. They are used to surveil and help persecute those already facing persecution. And I worry about the possibility, after sharing this story, that ICE may choose to come after me as there is already instances of US citizens being harassed, detained, and even killed by ICE. This committee and the city council have, with the stroke of a pen, put the lives of countless people at risk. I thank the higher powers of this world every day that I am not in Russia right now, under the fascist government of Vladimir Putin. but I'm watching the country I was adopted into turn its back on its most vulnerable. I mourn for Lady Liberty, welcoming the tired, the poor, and the huddled masses, yearning to be free, only for our government to be locking them in cages and putting bullets in the back of their heads. This is a copy of my certificate of citizenship, and this is one of my most treasured possessions that I have. I am proud to be an American, and as an American, it is my right to stand up for this blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment. DFLOC, WeHo, do not sign a contract with other ALPR providers like Axon. Do not allow these cameras to be surveilling our community. DFLOC, WeHo, be on the right side of history. You all have the power. The City Council has the power. Do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Next, we have Stephanie Harker. Stephanie, if you could approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Stephanie Harker, City of West Hollywood. Regarding scooters and e-bikes, the plan is still not working and still requires a citizen or ambassador to report before they come and move them, thereby allowing Lime to avoid fines. The company is avoiding responsibility and WeHo is enabling that. The children in Plummer Park are still tearing through the park on personal scooters. I have video of the kids on rental e-bikes speeding down Vista. Underaged, unlicensed, and no safety equipment in use. Orange County's District Attorney's Office is holding a buyback of up to $1,000 due to the uptick in scooter and e-bike injuries. In other words, they're doing buybacks the same way they do guns, so it's the same safety issue. Due to the uptick in scooter and e-bike injuries, particularly with youth. Newport Mesa School District has banned children from riding e-bikes to school or being ridden in school zones. Students in elementary K through 8 are strictly prohibited from possessing or operating e-bikes and e-motos on school property, including the periphery of the campus at all times. The Orange County District Office is holding this on September 13th. No questions asked or residency required. I'm also announcing tonight that there will be a citizens' town hall regarding the ill-conceived Fountain Avenue bike lanes and streetscape design this coming Sunday the 30th at 6 p.m. in Plummer Park Community Rooms 5 and 6. I do not care how many times it is stated that there were surveys and meetings about Fountain Avenue. The fact is, what little was done did not suffice, and there were no options offered to the residents. The current plan is in many ways as unsafe or worse than what there is there now. The plan simply must be put on hold until further notice. If doing that messes up the timeline to receive the grant from the CARB, then so be it. Remember that the grant could have been used for safer sidewalks or for a new fleet of electric cars for the city, but that was never even considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And our final speaker is Nick Roybal. Nick, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, commissioners. Tonight, I want to introduce a project. This is a project called Dear Surveillance. Residents, workers, and everyone who moves through this city will write notes or letters or poems addressed to any camera in this city. Flock, live feed, motion camera, or if you're lucky, the drone. Naming what these cameras have actually cost us and what they don't see, what they cost West Hollywood in trust, in who gets watched and who doesn't, in the quiet assumption that a camera on every corner makes this a safer place to be queer, to be brown, to be undocumented, to be trans, to be a survivor, or even to be a sheriff, or even to be a staff member in City Hall. What if you're a parent watching your kids play at West Hollywood Park playground? What does the camera watching you see? Or if you're a woman from out of state getting an abortion at Planned Parenthood, or if you're a day one again at the log cabin on Robertson. This project is for the servers and kitchen workers at WeHo Bistro, Gym Bar, and Beaches Tropicana, the workers at Target, Gelson's, Whole Foods, Pavilions, Trader Joe's, Erewhon, and Laurel Supply Market, the staff at John Reed Fitness, Barry's, OBVS, and every gas station attendant, every smoke shop attendant, every dispensary in the city, the laundry room attendants on Fountain and Santa Monica Boulevard, the clerks at the Russian delis on the east side, the cleaning staff at the London and every boutique hotel in the city, the staff at the Whiskey A Go-Go, the Roxy, the Viper Room, the Rainbow Bar, the teachers at WeHo Elementary, the priests and congregation at St. Victor's, the rabbi and community at Kol Ami, every visitor, every person. A camera can't be cross-examined. So I say, dear surveillance, do you know I'm non-binary and a survivor?
Thank you, Nick. And that is all the public comments.
Thank you. And really quickly, I just want to make a comment. Maybe I'll be messed up for this, but that's okay. Thank you, public, for the comments here. I just want to be transparent about what we can and cannot do tonight. Under the Brown Act, as a public body, we're required to provide advance notice of items before we can discuss or act on them in any substantive way. That said, the Commission's advisory role remains in place, and if an item needs to be agendized for a future point, we can do that later in the meeting as well. Okay. Great. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 7, unfinished business. There is no unfinished business on the agenda this evening. Item 8, new business. Item 8A, the Public Safety Commission will receive a presentation on the city's homelessness response, the Coordinated Response Framework, and the West Hollywood Homeless Initiative Dashboard. Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, staff, and members of the public. My name is Diane Kahn-Epstein, and I'm the Strategic Initiatives Supervisor in the Human Services Division. Tonight, Francisco Gomez, Strategic Initiatives Program Administrator, and I are providing an overview of the city's homelessness response with a focus on the Coordinated Response Framework and its new Homeless Initiative Dashboard. The city funds services both to prevent homelessness and to help people experiencing homelessness move towards stable housing. Those services fall into 3 main categories: outreach and behavioral health response, housing and navigation, and prevention and stabilization. People generally connect to the system in one of 2 ways: through the Homeless Concern Line and through proactive outreach by our homeless outreach providers. From there, the goal is to connect people to assessment, care, benefits, case management, and ultimately to interim and permanent housing. 3 major additions have strengthened the city's response over time: adding healthcare in action to provide street outreach, medical care, and housing connection, contracting with the West Hollywood Care Team to provide peer-led outreach and 24-hour field response, and the Holloway Interim Housing Program, which added 20 interim housing beds in West Hollywood. Some resources our clients need, including housing subsidies, coordinated entry, higher levels of care, and county behavioral health services, remain outside of the city's direct control. Better navigating those systems is also a central purpose of the coordinated response system. The Homeless Concern Line, just as a public safety announcement, is 323-848-6590, is the city's 24/7 non-emergency entry point for homelessness-related outreach, behavioral health response, wellness checks, and service coordination. Healthcare in Action leads the daytime response from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and the care team operated by Sycamores leads the overnight response and provides daytime backup. Together, they provide the 24-hour field response. The goal is for the concern line to be the beginning of a case, not the end of a call. Contacts are documented and followed up, and both teams also conduct proactive outreach. For this commission in particular, we want to emphasize how this response works alongside of public safety. The concern line provides a care-based alternative when law enforcement is not needed. It does not replace 911 for a crime in progress, medical emergency, or immediate danger. Instead, non-emergency situations can be routed to trained outreach and behavioral health staff with a clear pathway to law enforcement or emergency services when needed. That coordination works in both directions. Healthcare in Action and the care team work with sheriff deputies through ride-alongs and case coordination, and safety ambassadors regularly use the concern line to connect people to outreach teams. When a situation requires law enforcement or a higher level of clinical response, outreach teams engage first responders. Conversely, deputies reach out to the teams when a situation calls for service rather than enforcement. Approximately 98% of care team engagements are resolved without law enforcement or fire or emergency system or emergency management involvement. Next, we want to share more about the Coordinated Response Framework, or CRF. The CRF was approved by the City Council last year to address a specific challenge. Despite significant investment and repeated provider engagement, a relatively small group of people with very high needs have remained visibly unhoused over long periods of time in our community. The framework connects the pieces of the system more effectively by creating clear ownership, a shared plan, better data, and stronger follow-through. The CRF has now moved from planning into active case-level work. We have a prioritized list of approximately 30 high acuity, chronically visible homeless community members. We've identified a lead provider and primary case contact for each person. Individualized care plans focused on the barriers preventing progress and the next actionable steps. We have weekly case conferencing focused on moving those plans forward. And the city has now gained access to the Los Angeles County Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS, and more client-level reporting, which helps us further identify gaps such as expired referrals into the system and incomplete assessments that are required for resources. Our weekly provider convenings identify where handoffs are breaking down and help improve coordination. The goal is practical: faster follow-up, clearer accountability, fewer people cycling through the system without an identified case manager, and better information to advocate for county and regional resources, ultimately helping people move off the street and into housing. Alongside this work, city staff has also been making the city's homelessness efforts more visible through the Homeless Initiative dashboard, which is what we'd like to spend the remainder of tonight walking you through. With that, I'll turn it over to Francisco to take you through the dashboard.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Francisco Gomez, and I'll walk you guys through our Homeless Initiative dashboard. So in the interest of time, I will not walk through every data point contained in the dashboard, but I will mostly focus on the structure of the dashboard and highlight some of the functionality and interactive features that are contained within. So to start, there are 7 distinct panels in this dashboard. The first is our at a glance panel, which is really the dashboard's executive summary. It provides a summary of what the dashboard is and the 4 focus areas of the dashboard. The first being unsheltered counts and locations, which are informed by regular counts that our outreach teams conduct. Next, we look at the homeless concern line activity. So we look at the call volume, reasons for the calls, response patterns, and the like. Next, we look at housing outcomes as a result of funded housing programs, or our interim and permanent housing placements is really what we focus on here. And lastly, on prevention services, so looking at rental assistance, eviction defense, and other programs that are really designed to help people stay housed. Following this section, we have some top-line dashboard metrics, so we can see the number of housing placements since 2016, the number of permanent housing placements in 2016, the number of interim placements since 2017, and the total number of households that have received rental assistance from the city, as well as the total number of requests received via the concern line in the last year. Next, we have some key takeaways from the dashboard data contained to date, as well as a summary of who is being served by our providers. We get a sense of just the demographic breakdown of unhoused individuals in the community. So 71% are people of color, 12% identify as transgender, and nearly 40% are over the age of 50. Then we have a more detailed breakdown of that demographic information that follows, as well as a section that kind of shows how that data has changed in the last 4 years. The following tab is our systems overview tab that really describes what Diane walked us through a few minutes ago. It talks about how a typical individual navigates our system, starting with outreach and engagement, an assessment that's conducted in connection to services that help address any needs that are identified through that assessment, placement into interim housing when individuals are ready. Once in interim housing, there is stabilization and housing navigation that takes place with the ultimate goal of placing individuals into permanent housing. I also, in the dashboard, we understand that there's a few terms that might not be known to everybody, so there are tooltips that you can hover over and see see a definition for those less known terms. Next, we have a summary of the core service areas funded in homeless services, as well as a call out for system improvements that are currently underway via the coordinated response framework. Next, we have a tab that summarizes regular counts of unhoused individuals conducted by our outreach teams. From 2017 through 2025, these were conducted monthly. Starting in 2026, we did transition to quarterly counts. So here we see in the first quarter of 2026, in January, our outreach program identified 67 individuals in the community. This count takes place early morning, so it's like the last Friday of every month at about between the hours of like 4 to 7 a.m. usually. So there were 67 in Q1 and 58 in Q2. And then the chart to the right kind of shows what just the long-term trend of these type of counts. So you can see in 2017, we had about 30 individuals counted by our providers on a monthly basis. Now we're at about 62 and a half. And this mirrors what we see regionally. So it's, just want to stress it's a regional issue that we're seeing the effects of here as well. And next we have a map that shows where individuals were counted by our providers. This can be filtered by year and month. So if you wanted to see in the month of March of 2025 where people were observed, you can see those in the on the map. So the larger the dot, the more individuals that were counted. And you can hover over and it'll give you an exact location of where the individuals were counted and the total number that were at those specific locations. Next, we have a panel that summarizes our homeless concern line activity. So as I mentioned earlier, between July of 25 and July of 2026, over 2,000 requests have been received via the concern line, which translates to a daily average of about 5.6. Where engagement does happen, we see a service acceptance rate at nearly 70%, with the median response time during this period being 12 minutes. We then provided just a summary of how the concern line works, who responds, as well as the average daily rate by month. Starting in November, we did start to see a significant increase in the number of calls that came in. This coincides with the transferring of safety ambassador services to Allied Universal. At that point, there was a retraining that took place to ensure that the new staff understood what the concern line is, how it operates, and soon after, we saw significant increases in call volume. Today, ambassadors account for nearly 70% of all requests made to the concern line. So they are large, most call volume is a result of ambassador referrals. We then have a summary of the reasons why people are calling the concern line. The majority are related to housing or resource requests, followed by behavioral health and wellness, and safety or some other request, with a little bit under 10% of requests for those reasons, as well as an overview of outcomes of all call requests. We also have a sense of when calls come in by time of day, day of week, and where the teams are responding. And all the information in this panel can be filtered by reason for calls. So if we were interested in seeing where medical-related calls were happening, we could scroll down and see a map kind of showing that. And we see that a large number of those calls are actually responses to City Hall. We do see a large number of unhoused community members who are looking for medical help coming to City Hall requesting assistance, and then someone from our team will dispatch Healthcare in Action to provide that service. But all sections of this part of the dashboard update depending on whatever filter is selected. So we were interested in seeing medical requests in the month of July, then everything updates accordingly. Next, we have a panel looking at housing outcomes. So as I mentioned at the start, there's been nearly over 430 individuals who've been placed into permanent housing through our programs. 872 have accessed interim housing, and on average, our programs provide about 11,000 bed nights per year. Then we have charts that kind of show these placement numbers by year from 2021 through 2026. Following this section, we have a panel focused specifically on the Holloway. So from when the program opened in October through the end of June, there's been 42 individuals served. The program has maintained an average occupancy of 90%. And as of June 30th, there were 11 individuals at the Holloway placed into permanent housing. I'm happy to report that as of earlier today, the number is actually 11. So it's placements are happening. Then we have a summary of just what service participation looks like at the program. So of all people who are on-site, about 81% are actively participating in on-site services. Then there's a section that kind of shows occupancy and utilization by quarter, as well as a more detailed look at program flow. So 42 people have entered the program, 20 are currently enrolled, which means that 22 have exited. So then we get a sense of what those exits look like. So 6 into permanent housing, 5 transferred to another interim program like the Holloway, 2 exited to family or friends, so there was no lease that can be used to document that permanent placement, and 9 left the program willingly because they were just not ready for interim housing at that moment. Then we see what length of stay looks like for permanent placements, as well as for all types of placements, for all other exits. We see service participation by quarter, as well as a profile of who is being served at the Holloway. So we see age, gender, and race breakdowns. Next, we have a panel looking at prevention services, so looking at rental assistance, eviction defense, and legal supports with a strong focus on rental assistance. So since 2018, the city has invested over nearly $2.8 million in rental assistance programs, serving about 1,900 households with about $186,000 being dispersed in the current fiscal year. Then we see the total number of households that have received rental assistance by year. Unsurprisingly, in 2021, we did see a spike as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but between 2022 and 2025, the average number has hovered at about 100 households per year. And as of this current year, we have about 51. As of the end of March of this year, it's been 51 households who've received rental assistance. In November of 2024, county voters approved Measure A, which funds homeless services and homelessness prevention services. As a result of the prevention piece, we are getting money from an organization called La Casa. It's the LA County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency. And we've used our allocation to expand our rental assistance programs. So in April of this year, we introduced a new rental assistance program that has, at least in this first quarter, served 10 households, dispersed nearly $60,000 with an average rental assistance amount of about $5,800. So then we get a sense of like what that money was used for. In the majority of cases, it was used to pay for rental arrears, as well as some demographic information of who's been accessing this program. So we see age, gender, race, and household composition information here. And lastly, we have our Abouts and Methods section, which describes the scope of the dashboard in more detail, lists the data sources that we use in the various sections of the dashboard, as well as how often they are updated, and any notes that we feel are important for the public to know related to these data sources. We have information on just helping individuals how to understand the metrics that are being reported, as well as a glossary of terms that are used throughout the dashboard that may not be common for people in the community. Some known limitations are also listed here, as well as our goal for a refresh schedule. Our providers report to the city on a quarterly basis, so our goal is to keep this dashboard current, as current as we get those reports from our providers. And lastly, if there are any questions, suggestions, or corrections that anyone in the community feels are necessary, they can reach out and we're happy to take those. So that's the dashboard now. Back to Diane.
Thank you, Francisco, for presenting the dashboard and for your tremendous work creating it and iterating it. Really, truly appreciate it. Staff will present the dashboard to the City Council on August 31st, and then the final version of this dashboard will be published on a dedicated city webpage and updated, as Francisco said, regularly. You can access the version that you see tonight and the finalized version after August 31st by going to www.weho.org/homeless. We'll return to the Homeless Subcommittee in September and the City Council in October with a broader update on the Coordinated Response Framework. Thank you for the time, and staff is here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very, very much for this presentation. Do any commissioners have any comments at this time? Commissioner Winnick?
I have a couple of questions. There's a sense in some communities, and including in West Hollywood, that people who are unhoused elsewhere come here to get services. And looking at your initial numbers, it seems to me that a lot more people of color by proportion are receiving services than would be represented by the demographics of the city. And I'm curious as to who we are serving and how they come to be here. Clearly, we're trying to save people in their apartments and preserve their housing, but it seems like there may be another element that's coming here because we're making services available.
So I would say that we have about 60 individuals who are consistently in the community. And in those cases, I would say many have been here for more than a year. That said, our providers do count unduplicated people served throughout the year, and that number has hovered at about like 140 to like 160 per year. So I think we see about 100 people who are transitioning through the community and throughout the year. But I would say about 60 or so who are anchored in the community, who've been here for at least a year. And to speak, Diane mentioned the coordinated response framework earlier today. That's comprised of about 30 individuals. And in that particular cohort, the average time unhoused in the community is 7 years. So I would say about half of our anchor individuals are people who've been here for over 5 years.
Can I answer
Oh,
that?
sure.
And the other part is, good question, that if you look at the county statistics, we're challenged with systemic challenges. So you have folks who, there's a higher disproportionate of BIPOC community members experiencing homelessness because of various levels of systemic problems that impact them more greatly than you would see for the demographic for housed community members.
Commissioner Pilarski.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you for this presentation. I want to say that I use this hotline often, and I most recently used it on Saturday. I was walking home, and I had bought 2 waters, and I didn't need 2 waters, so I gave one to someone that needed the second one, and talked to him about his story, and it was heartbreaking. And I called the line, and it was after hours, so I guess I got sycamores. And the gentleman was so kind to me and explained to me in detail really what the situation is with finding a place to sleep on a Saturday. And I was wondering if you could also let everyone know what that is. Like, so when you're actually calling with concern the way I had, and you're trying to figure out how to get these services for someone, how difficult is it to get someone a bed on a Saturday at 4 in the afternoon?
There are different levels of challenges when you're working with other providers outside of the city. We'll start with Holloway, which is our local interim housing. Right now, I believe we have a wait list of 10 folks for the 20 beds. And other shelters, we also contract with Glendale Essentia, and we have beds there as well. So we do work to move folks into beds like Glendale as quickly as we can. But that said, there's an intake process that has to happen, and depending on the shelters, if they have a reduced number of staff for the weekend, if you have a resident person who stays in the shelter, that may not include the intake managers that work during the week. So it is more challenging when staff is reduced at different locations. But we do have teams that work during the week to help people get in, and even on the weekend, if, for example, it's a wet weather shelter, that will happen, or at least try to get them into a lower barrier shelter that exists.
Okay, yeah, one thing he mentioned was that, I can find him a bed, but it might be in Long Beach, and, they're not going to Long Beach. And then my other question was, so when you call and you report something and they take your name and your number, are they able to call me back and tell me how it went, or is that that's not a thing? Okay.
You're talking about for like either the care team or Healthcare in Action?
Yeah.
So for HIPAA reasons, they cannot, and confidentiality, they cannot disclose what has happened or what the person's situation is unless it's part of a continuum of care So just
Okay.
out of curiosity, that's not going to work. But they can let you know that a team has been dispatched so that you know that someone is directing attention and offering services and trying to connect them. And for example, when if they couldn't help them on a Sunday at 5 p.m., they would arrange to do the follow-up the next morning and where to meet the folks, or if they happen to have a way to reach them, they will do that via telephone. But otherwise, they will coordinate to meet someone at a specific place so they can help them. But they can't follow up in detail with community members about other community members.
Right. So he asked for my phone number, but is that just part of the intake process of the call?
Or if they needed more information,
Okay.
sometimes someone will call and say, they give a description of someone and say they looked like they needed some medical attention, a healthcare in action will be dispatched, but the person moved. So, and then they might call and say, have you seen this person before? Are there any other locations we can check? So it's a follow-up, it's more of a one-way information gathering. Good
Okay,
question,
great.
though. Thank you.
Well, I do want to say that, specifically on Saturday, this gentleman who I spoke with was really lovely. And I have one other question. When you're talking about interim housing or short-term housing, could you give us more specifics about like the number of nights or weeks that actually means?
So for the Holloway specifically, it's a 90-day program. And the goal is to stabilize individuals over that period of time with the goal of placing individuals into permanent housing. That said, it's very difficult to find permanent housing. And if people are working towards their housing goals, participating in services, those extensions are granted. And we see in the data that we have for the Holloway that, for permanent housing placements, the average length of stay is close to 150, 160 days. So the goal is 90 days, but in practice, that has been, extended, and it continues to be extended as long as people are working towards their housing goals.
So interim is 90 days.
For the Holloway, I think it varies by program. So like some programs have 60 days, some have longer, but for the Holloway, it's 90 days.
And what is short term?
I think anything under 30 days is short term.
Okay.
This is kind of like more of a medium term for Holloway, 90 days. But some programs have much longer, like they have 6-month interim housing periods. So it just depends on the program and their model.
Okay, thanks for the...
Sure thing.
Commissioner Hallman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Do we know how our homeless metrics measure against other neighboring cities such as Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Culver City, like where we're at?
We do. They don't have anything like this yet, but they do have the annual loss of point in time count that provides like a snapshot that's done once a year, and we get a sense of just what their numbers are in relation to ours. I don't have that number that data with me right now, but that's one metric that we can look at to kind of compare the number of observed individuals, based on that specific count.
Okay. And do we have an idea of numbers of homeless individuals in each city? Like, for example, does West Hollywood have a larger percentage than maybe Beverly Hills or Santa Monica? And if so, do we know why? Like, have there been any studies to look at those determinations?
So they do have those counts by city, by regional, by SPA, by different geographies. So those do exist. I don't know. I haven't seen any reports that specifically look at why counts differ by geography, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask, I think it's important to make sure that we are doing, and obviously we know everyone is doing their best to combat this very difficult situation for unhoused individuals. I just want to make sure that we're not missing anything, or if Santa Monica is doing something that's working, maybe we should integrate that into what we're doing.
And that's a great point, and we are in regular communication with the West Side City specifically. There's a homelessness working group that gets, staff working on homelessness together on a monthly basis to talk about best practices and any observations that we're kind of noticing. So those conversations are happening, but I appreciate, the point. That's a fair point.
And just to add to that, when we meet with these 4 cities, it's Culver City, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, and West Hollywood. And we do share ideas and we share programs. So the Measure A funding that you saw, we all were allocated money towards that. The city of West Hollywood jumped on the opportunity to expand our rental assistance program. And we have been exploring like part 2 to that. So we do see that we are more towards a cutting edge approach for a lot of the work we're doing. And we often have the other cities call to share, to request information and learn from what we're doing. So we're always happy to do that. And if we see something that other folks are doing, we often look at best practices. For Holloway, for example, Francisco was really busy working with Ascensia before they opened to be able to standardize their operation procedures so that they aligned with the best practices in other cities throughout the country. So we do appreciate that perspective and agree with you to move forward. You have to know what other people are doing. And the numbers do vary, but we are a very progressive city. So we have resources that we've been trying to allocate differently and creatively.
And my final question, I know Holloway is still somewhat of a new program. How are we measuring the successes of the program? I believe, Francis, you said that sometimes stays are extended when people are working to make that progress, to remove themselves from the situations. Are we feeling that this is really a great success in what we're doing? Are there any lessons that we've learned of how we can improve this program?
Yes, so both. I think it's performing strongly. I think they're on target to meet their replacement goal for the year, which is 12 placements. They're at 11. I think there's a few that are in the works. So, and that number is based on, so that's like a standard for interim housing programs. Is like the goal is 30% of individuals who cycle through a program. The goal is to place 30% into permanent housing. And Holloway is on track to meet that and surpass that in its first year. That said, there's always room for improvement. So we are obviously working with the Holloway on kind of getting a sense of how we can strengthen on-site services, how we can, I think we're a well-resourced program, so figuring out what staffing changes we might want to, what staffing enhancements we might want to consider to kind of just strengthen the placement rate and have something that's even better than 12. So I would say if we're on track to meet it, we're looking to improve it, and yeah.
I'm going to add one more thing. Also, when you're looking at the population of Holloway, we are looking at people who have been chronically unhoused and who are living with a physical and/or mental health disability. So it's a very difficult population to even transition into interim housing because there are curfews, there are rules. So it's the teams that we've discussed work with folks beforehand to help ready them for interim housing and then continue to work with them while they're in Holloway to continue to gather their documents. They work with Holloway to get birth certificates and ID and all of those things that you would need to become permanently supportive. get into permanent supportive housing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Post.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for the presentation, all the work on the coordinated response framework, and this dashboard's truly amazing with how much data you're able to give us. You did mention La Casa, not to be confused with La Casa, the funder, and I know folks know some of the inefficiencies with that count, but I just wanted to get a better sense. Do you think the quarterly count that you all are doing is giving you an accurate depiction of services? I know that the point-in-time count, which I think some of us even participated in this past year, was drastically lower than the year prior. And I know in this report it showed that we actually had been increasing year over year. So just wanted to get your sense on those numbers and if our numbers that were within the city are a little bit more accurate.
I would say that there are two very different counts. So the time of day is a big factor. The LAHSA count takes place in the evening in January. The LAHSA count is conducted primarily by volunteers. Our provider counts takes place in the early morning hours by outreach workers, so they know the community that they are serving. So I would say no count is perfect. So I don't say that our count, the provider count, is like a 100% accurate census of individuals in the community, but I would say it's a good indicator to kind of help us just track the individuals that our providers are observing, and it's a good tool to kind of just to deploy resources and understand just the nature of the work that needs to happen. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, awesome, thank you for that. I have two other quick questions. What is kind of the current protocol from your all's human services side as it relates to folks that are consistently refusing services? I know that's a question for a number of folks in the community and how we respond to that. But what is kind of your all's process if you're seeing week after week, especially in these provider meetings that you're having weekly? What's kind of the plan or the effort that you all are doing for those folks?
Great question. That really is the heart of the coordinated response framework. So we are now meeting weekly with our providers. They each have a caseload, and the providers have assigned a case manager for each individual in our cohort. Weekly, they come back and say, these are the challenges we're seeing with Francisco. Francisco is refusing services for these reasons. To address that, in this week, we're going to set two very small goals to try to create movement and service acceptance. So it's not seeing, it's really taking the issue and focusing on small actionable steps that will get us to that next, that movement towards service acceptance. And it's still early on, I don't want to speak too much, but I think even in the first month of doing this, we have started to see movement and change, and people who were in the past refusing to accept any to engage with our providers are beginning to shift. So that is how I would answer that. But Diane, if you want to add.
That was very helpful. I think it's also about how we as a city can support our providers further. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. You have to use a county system to document when you need county resources, but if they're not noticed, then the resources, or someone comes out to find from the county to find someone, and they miss them 3 times, it's done. So then we learn that and we say, okay, how do we create a system where we work with the county, so if they're going to be coming out, the teams are all alerted so we can find where the person is and be able to help them access those services. So it's a very hands-on, what Francisco was saying, is like what will help. Or if we're looking at substance use disorder, we are looking at a subset of a group. So how do we access other resources? Beds are not easy. We met with Cedars-Sinai last week to talk about a revolving door that they face. How can we collaborate on that, still respecting HIPAA, but also how do we move people's pathways forward? So it's, we are learning, to be honest, as we go. It's a good question, what have we learned? But also, we didn't know what we didn't know until we're knee deep in something. We never had access to the county system before. So Francisco and I gained access and were able to train and learn how to navigate the system as well, so then we can then be better provider-friendly funders.
Yeah, thank you for that background on the actual coordination, how much goes into that. For those weekly meetings, are the Sheriff's Department included in those too, correct?
Yes. Well, go ahead. Sheriff's included.
I would say not for the weekly meetings. Those have been largely our providers and staff, but we are working to on a regular basis update our sheriff's partners, our safety ambassadors, to make sure that we're all on the same page and there's information sharing that's happening to help inform the work. One thing that's important with the coordinated response framework that I think is important to highlight is that we're really transitioning from a primary funder of services to a coordinator of service. The city is now maintaining the list of who's in that cohort, and then on a weekly basis, talking to providers and seeing what has changed, what has not changed, and what we can do differently to encourage change. And I feel like that really is, I would say, a significant way of in the way that we've been looking at the homeless response system in the city.
Awesome.
Can I add to that again? We do this all day long. As far as public safety partners are concerned, Anita has been involved from the very beginning, and Danny, in our coordinated response framework, from choosing our consultant all the way through. We have internal meetings, we have external meetings with our goal we're hoping, quarterly with the partners. But currently, the teams have gone on ride-alongs. They have briefings at the sheriff's station. The care team goes to morning briefings. They have the ambassadors. We've been involved in training so that they know what data to collect or what information to collect so that they can share it with the teams. So there is a lot and will continue to be a lot. We just are morphing a little bit as far as what that looks like, because we haven't done this the way we're doing it now before.
Awesome. And my last question, sorry, if there's anything that the city could be doing more to give you all more resources, particularly I'm thinking around being proactive. I think I know the proactive patrols normally happen in the mornings most often, but if there were more funding given to the Human Services Department, could those proactive outreaches be happening more often, or is that more of like a staffing capacity issue with some of our vendors, or is there space, you think, to continue to grow the programs that you all are currently doing?
Great question. And I think as part of the CRF, we're also kind of evaluating our existing portfolio of services. So I think we'll have a better answer to that question in the very near future.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Commissioner
I want to
Pilarski.
do a plug for you guys if you're not going to do it yourself. But if you want to be part of the change that you wish to see in the world, I highly recommend reaching out and volunteering at Holloway. It's really important to understand what they, just really who these people are and what they go through, and it might change your perspective on who you see walking down the street and how you interact with your neighbors. So I highly recommend doing a volunteer shift at Holloway House. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your presentation this evening. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I think that seeing this all written out really helps us to see really our values as a city, which is caring for the lowest in our community, certainly. And then as well, I think it's really helpful for us to understand as a Public Safety Commission, what goes into the services that are provided as a city. We look at, for example, this month alone, the Sheriff's Department has reported 134 unhoused outreach contacts, and 3 of them actually connected with services. Similarly with security ambassadors, 800 or so as well this month. And so it can, to us at least, sometimes it feels disheartening to say are we making any progress on that? I think seeing what all it takes and all that we're doing is really beneficial. One edit or one maybe suggestion I would love on the dashboard. I know that's kind of a throwback there because we've talked about it for a little bit. Towards the goal of, when I'm looking at these dashboards and thinking about it from a public safety perspective, I'm thinking, hey, how are we doing? On the dashboards are really showing, what have we achieved, right? I'm kind of wondering about sort of the opposite, or how they sort of overlay in terms of, how much more do we have to go? So I would be curious if I don't know, as a suggestion, some way that you could put together a chart that's sort of a combination of, what's the total over time of people that are in the homelessness network, whether they're unhoused or in interim housing, versus how the city has ramped up the different programs to accommodate that. Because I think that would also help me, at least, to understand and say, like, hey, I think we are approaching this maybe well. Maybe we have more to go comparatively to the counts of people that we're seeing or that are just in the system. So my food for thought. Yeah, that's all I got. Well, thank you very much, Diane and Francisco. Commission Secretary, do we have any public speakers on this topic?
Yes, we have 2 public speakers. The first one is Wendy Goldman. Wendy, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Wendy Goldman, Cynthia Sunset Neighborhood Watch. Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, City staff, and our public safety partners. I want to commend our staff for this informative presentation. We have lots of data and hear lots of opinions about the unhoused people who live on our streets and how we can best provide them with social services. Some unhoused people, for reasons unknown, have been unwilling to accept help from these well-funded services. Others accept help and find their way to becoming productive members of society. I do not pretend to have answers to the most pressing issues surrounding homelessness. It feels very complex. Most of us are not qualified to make determinations about the best path forward, and I encourage commissioners as well as the public to refrain from judgment about the reasons behind their situation. Each person has a different path, from being an employed, housed person who voted, celebrated birthdays with loved ones, who had friends and community. Please do not make assumptions about them, because one day you might find yourself one paycheck away from being unhoused. No one can predict the future. So be kind, be slow to judge, and have an open mind when you find yourself in front of an unhoused person. Not all are suffering from mental health issues. In fact, some people lose their housing from a sudden family crisis, a health crisis, or being ellised out of their apartments. We're trying to deal with a growing problem from the economy and cost of living, the vacant properties that are left unfilled throughout the city, and a lack of understanding. Please try to maintain our social services that provide a pathway to housing for even a few of those who receive them. One day they may be in a better position to serve us and to make our city safer. I have faith that we cannot rush to judgment simply because someone has experienced hardship. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. And our final speaker is Tom DeMille. Tom, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Tom DeMille, West Hollywood, a candidate for City Council November 3rd, 35-year resident. 70 years I've been around, and what makes a homeless person homeless? Bullying, being beaten up, being ridiculed by your own family members. So much so that you gotta get out of the house. You have no place to go. So you start drinking, you start doing drugs, you wanna forget what your family did to you, and you're on the streets. These people are broken. Everybody's family has one of these people. And you are $200,000 for half of a year you're paying. $200,000, that's $400,000 a year. I can build with Cedars-Sinai on day one, I can build, for $400,000, I can get a crisis beds. I can get crisis beds right here, right at the end of our property. of West Hollywood, right where Cedar Sinai starts. We can get crisis beds there. Instead of the parking lot, we'll put crisis trailers, whatever we need to do, which includes people that are ridiculed and beaten up by their spouses. They also need a place to go. Now, I've been told what to do by the Director of Public Safety, yet the public safety person in our city doesn't walk the streets, doesn't see the homeless that I've seen in 25 years. They say, well, they're a year or something. Let me tell you, they're not, you've got 12-minute response team, that's fine, but they're there the other 23 and 46 minutes of the rest of the day. They're there 24 hours, or 23 hours and 46 minutes. The rest of the day, they're on the sidewalk. And they're ruining all our businesses. Ms. Goldman just testified that the homeless are amongst us now. They're not on us. They're not on our businesses, putting our businesses out of business. They're in our residential areas. They're on Palm Avenue. They've been on Palm Avenue for as long as I lived there, 30 years. We have the fire department here. Do we wait for all these homeless people that we're not helping or 5150ing into a crisis bed burn down our homes? Do we wait to go to sleep tonight and have all these homeless people come into our bedrooms? Do we wait for that? No. Not on my watch, not after November 3rd. I'd be honored if Stephen Post joined me when you vote for me, you vote for Stephen Post too. I'd like a man from Public Safety Commission on my side to help me, guide me through all of this stuff. Stephen, I'm looking for your support. Statistics, I got 10 seconds. Throw your statistics out the door, okay? Take a walk on the wild side, which is the Rainbow District. Take a walk on the wild side, which is the rest of West Hollywood. Give the sheriff an opportunity and a tool to arrest these people, put the 5150 for mental retardation, whatever you want to do. They've been on that street for 20 years. Don't you think it's time to help them?
Thank you, Tom. And that is all the public speakers.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane and Francisco, for the report. We appreciate it. Moving on to item 8B is the Allied Security Ambassadors, who will provide a report on July's activity.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be providing the July 2026 update for the Security Ambassador Program. For July, the program continued to maintain strong visibility throughout the city. Our average ambassador response time for July was approximately 5 minutes. Starting with hospitality assistance, we recorded 9,035 assists compared with 3,795 in July 2025. This category represents the everyday assistance our ambassadors provide while engaging with residents, visitors, and members of the community throughout West Hollywood. For business contacts, we recorded 3,738 contacts compared with 7,080 from last year. For July, our ambassadors recorded 790 unhoused contacts, and we also referred 790 to the Homeless Concern Line. For calls for service, our ambassadors responded to 2,680 calls compared with 1,335 from last year. We provided 13 safety escorts compared with 74 last year. While the number decreased year over year, this service remains available to community members who may request additional assistance in safely reaching their destination. We're constantly reminding the Security Ambassador team to offer the service throughout the community as needed. For improperly parked scooters, ambassadors addressed 138 incidents compared with 211 from last year. Our ambassadors requested 73 sheriff assistants compared with 45 from last year, and 56 EMS and fire-related incidents compared with 26 from last year. This reflects the program's continued coordination with law enforcement when incidents require additional public safety resources. I'd also like to recognize several members of our team for their response to an incident involving a reported stolen cell phone from an elderly lady in July. SSO Ruben and Security Ambassador Emily demonstrated attentiveness and teamwork in helping identify an individual believed to be associated with the incident. Assistant Account Manager Jackie shared the information immediately with our security team and advised them to be on the lookout. As a follow-up, Security Ambassadors Chris and Romario took the appropriate actions. They contacted 911. They reported the individual to law enforcement when seen again at Plummer Park. Their attentiveness, communication, teamwork, and follow-through helped ensure the incident was properly reported and addressed. And I'd like to recognize all 5 of our team members. Overall, July was another active month for the Security Ambassador Program. Our team continues to maintain visibility. We are proactive and responsive presence throughout the city while supporting our residents, businesses, and visitors. This concludes our July update. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your report. Commissioner Winnick.
I have to say that I see the ambassadors doing some good work. A neighbor came to me today very, very upset. She saw apparently a family in a car on our street on Huntley Drive, and the people in the car looked like they were in distress, and they did not look like they were really belonging in the neighborhood. So she called the number, and she said, "Is this block by block?" And she was told, "No, you have the wrong number." So she hung up. She called back, and she said, "Is this block by block?" I said, "No, it's Allied. You have the wrong number." I said, and so she wound up having to make 3 calls and being told that she had the wrong number instead of perhaps being told, "Yes, we used to be block by block, but now we're Allied. How can I help you?" Some training needs to be done. That can't be happening to our residents. They can't be being misdirected because of a semantic change. They've got to be responsive regardless of the name of the organization. I mean, that was really disturbing, and she was very upset.
I totally agree. We could definitely look into that encounter if you could provide us with a time and date. I know you said it occurred today. If you could provide us.
I learned of it today. It occurred this week, but I don't know. I don't know exactly when it occurred. No. She said.
It's okay. We can get that information from you at a later time, but definitely we will pass on that training across the board to our ambassadors.
Yeah, so this she said it happened. I'm sorry. Yesterday. Oh, it was from a few nights ago. So it was, yesterday was a few nights ago for yesterday. So, but it was an evening call.
Okay, if you could give us a time, we will definitely look into it, and we will work on training our dispatch team better so this doesn't occur again.
It was at 7:30 p.m. Whichever night it was 7:30 p.m. is the note that I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report. I have a quick question. So I think we're coming up on around a year, our anniversary with Allied. Is that correct? Is it October?
That's
Okay.
correct, October
Okay.
1st.
Okay, so that's when certainly maybe some of these variances will be able to eliminate the service provider switch as a variance factor. But okay, got it. Very clear. Thank you so much. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that was my biggest question. Commissioner Pilarski.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you both for the presentation. I wanted to just share with you how much I appreciate you sharing a success story. I think that's really important for us to hear those success stories. I think that there are more of those happening. So just a little tip, like maybe you can have a success story a month or something like that. And even, you know, when I use the services, I always say thank you so much. So I liked you adding that to this month's report.
We will. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Commission Secretary, do we have any public speakers on this item?
Yes, we have one, Tom DeMille. Tom, you'll have 3 minutes.
Tom DeMille, West Hollywood, a candidate for City Council November 3rd. 35-year resident. 35 mayors taught me what to do and what to say about this. And a disciplinarian that I really admire, two of them. One was Sal Gariello and one's John Howman, who's leaving us now. But the disciplinarian thing is a very good thing to have and to accomplish in the city, because what Kimberly was just doing, she was actually fighting for the residents there. That's what I'm doing. I don't care. I don't want to get this done tonight. I'm not fighting to get it done. I'm fighting for the residents here. And they're telling me just because you've got 2,000 hospitality but that's what you said. You said 2,000 times hello to someone. That doesn't make you a security ambassador. Picking someone up off the sidewalk makes you a security ambassador. None of them can speak to one another. They have no communication whatsoever. Not with the sheriff's department, not with the director of public safety, that's for sure. Not with the fire department. No one. They can't speak to anyone. I know that because I have 4 sheriff's reports for violent homeless people assaulting me in my wheelchair. 4 of them. Actually yelling, screaming over the sheriff's gate. Help, help, for 10 minutes. So let's put it all together. We have the homeless, we've got the flock cameras that we don't want, and we've got, because not only are they abused by the sheriff, but the sheriff is now relying on the flock cameras to solve all their problems. They don't even want to come out to us anymore. And they want to let the sheriff or the security ambassadors, let's do that, let's let them pick up the pieces and we'll just drive around and look good. No. If I'm writing the check and if I'm elected, if I humbly ask for your vote, if I'm elected, the $30 million I have to give to the sheriff's department, the residents are going to have some demands. Kimberly's going to have some demands. Stephen Post's going to have some demands. Kelly's going to have some demands. Everyone's going to have some demands with the flocks, with the sheriff's deputies, with the patrols, with the homeless, with the people burning our city down, the people coming in our back doors while we're sleeping. None of this is going to happen after November 3rd. Someone has to be a disciplinarian. Someone has to be adult in the room. And I hope to live up to that, if given the chance. 35 years of molding me into who I am today, and that's someone that's going to tell you the truth. My name is Tom DeMille. I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Tom. And that is all the public speakers on this item.
Thank you, Commission Secretary. As a reminder to the public, if we can maintain decorum during public comments and then direct all comments towards the Commission, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Valerie, thank you so much for your presentation this evening. Great. All right. Moving on to agenda item 8C is the Los Angeles County Fire Department, who will provide a report on July's activities. Come on down, the price is right.
Good evening, Drew Smith, Assistant Fire Chief, Los Angeles County Fire Department. I want to say thank you to the commission and the citizens that County of Los Angeles Fire Department is proud to be your fire department. I have with me Battalion Chief Jason Centeno, who is regularly Battalion 1 on the C platoon, and he's stationed out of Fire Station 7 on San Vicente. So I'll start with an apology for not being here last month. I was committed to a fire assignment, so I have collateral duties besides being your fire chief. So it's been an active summer, but yeah, you're in good hands with the battalion chiefs that are here. So looking for July of 2026, just in the big picture, I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary. For the month of July, we had a total of 5 fires. We had 505 medical calls, 100 of those which required advanced life support, 212 which required basic life support. We transported 312 patients. We had on the hazardous situations, we had a total of 4, 21 public service calls, and 110 good intent calls. And as I always speak to the good intent calls, they're my favorite because that means people are paying attention. They're calling and letting your wonderful fire department and sheriff's department evaluate the nature of the emergency and see what course of action we need to take. We had a total responses within the month of July of 645 as compared to July of 2025, 589. So all the comparisons on the run totals is nearly the same, and we're still averaging between 20 and 22 runs for service from your fire department a day in West Hollywood. Looking at just some breakdowns on who's asking for services, we see the top age range is those of 30 to 39 years old that need medical attention, second being 20 to 29 years old, those needing medical attention. And most of those are coming from private residence and apartment type housing. And with that, I had another good one for you. What was it? Oh, also on structure fires that we had a total of 2. Actually outdoor rubbish fires were down, and that's really comforting to see, especially in summer months when things get a little bit busier because of the heat, of course. And we had 5 total auto versus bicycle or scooter incidents in the month of July. And then also comparative to July of 2025, we're about equal with what we had with our fire totals and our other run totals as well. And with that, is there any questions for your fire department?
Commissioners? Commissioner Pilarski.
I guess.
Love it.
Just a clarification on what you just mentioned, Chief. The 5 incidents with cars and scooters, or cars and pedestrians, so that's included in the 20 traffic collision number? Is that inclusive of that, or is that in addition to?
That's a definite maybe, depending on how they categorize it it's what's called the nearest system. So we have to do all the importing, and sometimes it doesn't extract it, just knowing that we can separate that, and whether it's in that other total. I know that it's been extracted or it's not a separate entry, so most likely it's been extracted from that. But just to bring that, we had a total of 5 for the month.
5 for the month?
Yes.
Where we needed a medical
correct
to come
to be evaluated. Anytime that we have a medical emergency regarding a scooter or a bicycle, if they call 911, they're going to get medical attention unless we get there and there's nobody there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
I have a question on one of the fire incidents. The July, indeed. The July 14 on Sunset, the billboard fire. I'm curious if you can help me understand maybe a little bit more about what happened there. And I ask out of curiosity because, we're having across Sunset a lot of change to our billboard style, leaning more towards these digital billboards, which use a lot of power. And so I'm wondering if, there's something from this incident that we need to know about and can advise us in future with the billboards on Sunset.
Anytime that we use any illumination on Howard, because we know that we have neon, we have illumination through standard lighting, incandescent lighting, LED lighting. Anytime you put electronics and they have a draw, depending on age or if they overheat, it's hard to chase the why on the mechanical failure, on service interruption or what it is. So. Sure. It wasn't malicious. It was something that they had a mechanical failure somehow in the electronics. So as our electrical grid is bid out, it puts a draw on demand. But you could have failure anytime in some of that type of electronics.
Was it a traditional billboard with like some kind of attachments on it, or was it a digital billboard?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I just don't know that.
Okay.
I think that would be a good survey to do in West Hollywood, all the billboards.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the makeup of it actually.
Okay. I'd be curious just to keep an eye on that kind of a thing, especially as we're, again, like I said, the style of advertising on Sunset is
right.
changing.
I could say that with technologies of today compared to what was of years past, the draw from the electrical system is less due to technology, and so we're not putting as much heat as compared to some of the older lighting systems that they have.
For like a comparative illumination,
Correct.
right?
And
but
we
not
don't
like the
actually
big
go with all the illumination that goes on in West Hollywood. We actually don't have a lot of responses or have mechanical failure in a lot of those. We really don't. Which is comforting because we know that there's a lot of advertisement that goes on on those buildings. And
complex advertising too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay, great. Any other commissioner comments? Oh, yes, Commissioner Polarski.
All of it today. And I'm just looking at my notes from last month, and I was wondering, just a curiosity question. So now that we have all of our water lines fixed and required, everything is hopefully back up and running. I was wondering if you could explain to us if there are still any hydrants that are out in the city of West Hollywood and how you guys keep track of that.
Right, so we have a great relationship with Public Works, whether it be County Public Works and or the City of Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. So anytime there is water outages, we are notified, and then we put tactical planning in place. So when we had the water outage, we worked with our partners to make sure that we had water on standby, and actually Chief Centeno helped manage that with having water tenders. So basically it's a big truck, it has X amount of gallons in it, 5,000 to 6,000 gallons that are there to support a certain area so we have water there. But knowing that all your fire trucks that come carry 500 gallons of water, and you get a lot of fire trucks, and so it's going to be delivered. We're not just dependent on those fire hydrants. So I don't believe we have any hydrants out of service anymore. Yeah, we are back in service in West Hollywood. That was a good question, because I was thinking, no, I think they're all back in service. Yeah, and they have been for a little bit now. But that was a very dynamic situation. I wanted to say thank you to our Sheriff's Department and actually the interagency cooperation we had on that dynamic incident. It was really well orchestrated with the meetings that we had with our sheriffs and Danny. How we orchestrated that. It was really well done. That was a very, very complex incident that we had to deal with at 3 in the morning on. So thank you for the support. So.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. Commission Secretary, do we have any public speakers on this item?
I believe Tom DeMille left, so no public speakers.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you to the LA County Fire Department.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dokie. Item 8D on the agenda is the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, who will provide a report on July's activity. Joining us today is Lieutenant Turner.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of July, West Hollywood Station personnel handled a total of 1,782 calls for service. 84 of those calls were for an emergency response. Deputies made 54 felony arrests and 196 misdemeanor arrests. Our Part 1 crimes for the month, we had 164 incidents. When broken down by district, the West accounted for 52% with 85 incidents. City Center, 20% with 32 incidents. East, 28% with 47 Part 1 crimes. There were a total of 34 pickpocket thefts in the month of July. Our MET team responded to a total of 21 incidents for July, and our sort submissions were 35. Our West Hollywood Station volunteers donated a total of 215 and a half hours in July. And I wanted to touch on some traffic incidents which occurred in the city in the month of July. We had a total of 6 vehicle versus pedestrian traffic collisions, and 3, the drivers were at fault, and the other 3 incidents are still under investigation at this time. For the month of July, there was 1 vehicle versus bicyclist collision, and the driver was determined to be at fault. 3 vehicle versus scooter or e-bike accidents occurred. 1, the operator of the electric scooter was at fault, and the additional 2 are still under investigation. A scooter and pedestrian safety operation was conducted in August, and I will be sharing the results of that operation at September's Public Safety Commission. In the month of July, we had an uptick in DUI arrests, and 19 were made. Of the 7 aggravated assaults in July, 3 arrests have been made, and our entertainment policing team has continued to be present outside of the bars and clubs in the Rainbow District. They continue to be out there, boots on the ground, and they've been extremely successful in keeping a lot of the complaints with the hot dog vendors at bay and not in front of the businesses and impeding pedestrian traffic on the sidewalks. The COPS team has continued conducting bicycle patrols throughout residential neighborhoods and in the business districts as well. National Night Out took place on Tuesday, October 4th, and was an extremely successful event with a multitude of people coming out from various neighborhoods to participate, and we enjoyed interacting and meeting with everyone during that night. We're in full swing with planning season for Halloween, as well as the Sunset Music Festival, and we've been meeting consistently with the city events team, public safety, and of course, our fire partners. And that is to ensure we have a fun and a safe event for both of those events coming up. In regards to last month's Public Safety Commission, there was a request for hate crime and hate incident statistics be included in the monthly crime stats report. I wanted to let you know that they are on LASD's transparency page and can be accessed by visiting the following website, and that is lasd.org/transparency/crime and arrest. And with that, I will open it up for any questions.
Commissioner Winnick.
I want to say thank you, because I had a scary incident a couple weeks ago where I was in my bedroom looking out the glass door into my what is supposed to be a private backyard, and there was a man there I didn't recognize. I called 911. Dispatch kept me on the line so that I had someone to talk to the entire time till the sheriffs responded. It was a very quick response with a team of 4 sheriffs who, the person disappeared. They left the property, so they were not arrested. But it was really very reassuring to have the dispatch stay on the line with me without any question and have the sheriffs appear so quickly and check my property so carefully so that I knew that it was now a safe place to be again. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for that, and I'm so glad that was the case. Thank you.
Other Commissioner? Commissioner Pilarski?
Thank you. I have a question, and I'm so sorry because I'm thinking that I don't know the date now. We had an incident in the city. It was a road rage incident where a driver drove over a cyclist, drove over his bicycle out of rage. Was that in July or August?
I believe it was in August.
Okay, so sorry. Is there any update on that incident? I mean, has that been solved and, that was dealt with immediately on site? And I think that was what happened, right?
Yes,
Okay.
There was an arrest made that same day, and the case has been filed.
Okay.
Okay. Vice Chair Post.
Yes, thanks for the report. I noticed the Met team response was a little bit lower than normal. I feel like it normally is hovering around 50 or 60. I know we recently talked about the staffing changes. Is that something we can continue to expect? I can't remember if we've been able to hire anyone else on to help support that other individual, and just wanted to check that.
We do have a new full-time person that replaced our former Met deputy. And I'm not sure why they're lower, but I will definitely talk to that individual and see maybe what's going on with that.
Not saying it's them at all. It might just be an outlier month, but just wanted to ask the question. And then my other one, you mentioned street vendors as well. I just wanted to, I know there was an enforcement at some point, I can't remember as well if it was August or July, but you reiterated that was because of access or ADA like mobility issues, not because the street vendors were unpermitted or anything like that. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And no one was arrested for illegal vending. It was for impeding pedestrian traffic on the sidewalks.
Thank you.
I have a few questions. The first one is 101% patrol compliance. Is that because there's a benchmark amount of patrol hours, distance, that's required by contract in a year, and in this particular month, you overachieved that?
Technically speaking, yes.
Okay.
The goal is to stay above 99% compliance, so
Okay.
some months might fluctuate, a little higher depending on the month, but the goal is to be above 99% compliance.
Does this 101 balance out a 98% compliance in another month?
When looking at the totality of the year?
Yeah.
That is a good question that I don't have the answer to, but
Okay.
I'm happy to find that out.
No, it's okay. I was just curious. My question was my question. Was this month was there a DUI focused mission? It feels, I tried to pull up last month, so I didn't get it up in time. It seems like, 18 DUI arrests, certainly that page of DUI arrests was much larger than I expect to see. I'd love it. Let's keep it up. But was there a particular focus?
No particular focus. I think we really have a good group of deputies that are now performing a traffic function, and they have just become very skilled in what they're looking for, and have been doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, amazing. 10 out of 10. Well, give them our appreciation. Thank you.
Will do.
Any other commissioner comments? No. Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Yes, we have two. First one is Robin Berner. Robin, you'll have 3 minutes.
I would like to use these last 3 minutes to draw attention to a current case of Glendale violinist and teacher Alyssa Darbinian. She's being held in Texas, thousands of miles from her husband, students, and home. I'm calling on Governor Gavin Newsom, Senator Adam Schiff, and other California representatives to demand answers about Alyssa's detention and advocate for her return to California. We are asking officials to investigate why Alyssa was detained at LAX, the legal basis for her continued detention, what happened to her pending bond request, whether her bond request was properly transferred following her move from Adelanto Detention Center here in California, why she was transferred through 4 different facilities in 4 days, her access to attorneys and communication with her husband, her medical treatment and detention conditions. We're also calling on journalists to independently investigate Alyssa's case and the circumstances surrounding her detention, bond request, transfers, medical care, and access to counsel. Alyssa has a pending asylum case, no reported criminal history, a U.S. citizen husband, established employment, legal representation, and deep ties to the Glendale community. Her family is asking for just one thing: bring Alyssa home. I just wanted to bring that attention to that case because, you know, it's just one of many examples of innocent people that have been caught up in this administration's just lack of regard for the justice system, lack of regard for human life and dignity. And, you know, it all ties back to these flock cameras because, you know, we can't trust this administration with anything. What Donald Trump has proven is that the respect for the rule of law in this country is gone. And the fact that the city council and some of the members of this committee voted in favor of these flock cameras and are saying, don't worry, this $200,000 fine will definitely protect innocent people in West Hollywood. We have a convicted felon for a president who was impeached twice. I'm pretty sure the rule of law will not be respected at this point. If people like Alyssa in Glendale and, you know, the community member here in West Hollywood that was recently detained, Alex, you know, are just two examples of people that have been swept up in this administration's horrible just lack of regard for human rights. And I think we need to be on the right side of history. You know, West Hollywood was created as a city to be, you know, where great things are established and, you know, can lead the nation. So goes West Hollywood, so goes California, so goes the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And our final speaker is Nick Roybal. Nick, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening again, commissioners. I've spent the past several months investigating the flock contract, its financing, and what this body was and was not told about it. Part 1 of my investigative feature will be published shortly. I encourage each one of you, every staff member in City Hall, every council member, to read it. Tonight, I want to focus on what the July numbers show. In July, 66 stolen vehicle alerts, 10 became investigations, 8 cars recovered. That's a 12.1% conversion rate on a system that cost the city $1.47 million across 2 contracts. That works out to roughly $183,750 per recovered vehicle. I want to sit with a number this commission heard earlier this evening by the Human Services presentation on our unhoused in the dashboard. Roughly, we heard $186,000 had been dispersed this year for unhoused services. That's close to what we spend recovering a single car through this system. I don't say that to pit these programs against each other. I say it because it's worth pausing on. 56 alerts this July. They didn't lead anywhere. I genuinely would like to understand why plates misread. Why a plate that misread and set aside, or a stop that was never made it into public record. I think we owe it to residents, workers, and visitors to know how many people in this city have been stopped, searched, or had a weapon drawn on them because of a false read. Flock reads plates on moving vehicles, and most of the theft that is happening to cars are parked, often at night. Part 1 crime is also down 11.8% year to date, and the department's own report doesn't credit that to Flock. So my ask respectfully, commissioners, is just that we hold this program to its own numbers and not to a story built around them. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Nick. And that is all the public comments.
Can I just ask a question based on that public comment to staff? Or maybe back to Lieutenant Turner? So there's obviously, I want to acknowledge the public comments that have come forward tonight for Flock. I mean, this is really scary, right? You're just driving along and somebody gets it wrong and you get pulled out of your car and guns drawn at you and it's not you. And this can happen to anyone. So what do you suggest we do in that situation for a misread on the camera?
Well, first off, when a deputy would receive a Flock alert in the field, they wouldn't immediately pull that car over just based on them receiving an alert via Flock. There's a secondary process to that. They would then run that plate in their computer in the car, and that's a completely different system to verify that it's actually the correct plate and hasn't been feloniously put into Flock as the wrong plate. And in addition to that, they would thirdly voice it over the air and have the SCC, Sheriff's Communications Center dispatcher, also run that plate. So that is a three-step process. It's not just, we don't just pull a car over because we receive an alert via Flock.
And that's specific to West Hollywood, or is that what everybody's doing?
I can speak for the Sheriff's Department. That's what the LA County Sheriff's Department
LA County is doing. Okay. Okay. And if you don't think it's you and you get pulled over, you just comply and then figure it out later, right? Is that what happens?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Item 9 on the agenda is items from staff. Are there any community... Oh, thank you, Lieutenant Turner. I'm sorry, I got so excited. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Now moving to item number 9 on the agenda is items from staff. Are there any community safety updates?
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. We celebrated National Night Out a few weeks ago on August 4th. This nationwide event promotes public safety and neighborhood partnerships. Throughout the city, there was 7 wonderful events hosted that evening. Neighbors and public safety partners came together to show unity in keeping the community a safe and fun place to live. We want to extend our appreciation to the neighborhood watch group captains who took the lead to organize these great events. The Los Angeles County Fire Department will be hosting CERT, which is Community Emergency Response Team training, beginning on September 1st at Plummer Park. The CERT program provides the public with basic training in safety and life-saving skills. To register for this free training, please visit the Los Angeles County Fire Department website or email cert@fire.lacounty.gov or email us at safety@weho.org and we will connect you as well. The Community Safety Department and Public Safety Partners will be presenting the semi-annual Community Safety Update at the September 22nd City Council meeting, so please tune in. At the last Public Safety Commission meeting, it was shared here that the amount of walk time on the traffic signals along Santa Monica Boulevard was too short because the countdown ended and the don't walk symbol was displayed long before the traffic turned yellow for vehicle traffic. This resulted in pedestrians either waiting a long time for the next cycle walk signal or crossing the street when the don't walk symbol was displayed. This situation was primarily cited for Santa Monica Boulevard when pedestrians were crossing the side streets while walking in the east or west directions. This was something the city was also made aware of and had worked to correct. Staff monitored the conditions and agreed that the modifications should be made to the pedestrian crossing timing. The modifications were made in mid-June. This modification maximized the amount of walk time in the east-west direction for people crossing the side streets that intersect with Santa Monica Boulevard. This concludes updates from the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10 on the agenda is the second round of public comments. Commission Secretary, do we have any speakers available at this time and anybody on Zoom?
Yes, just in chambers, and that would be Helen Krieger. Helen, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, Public Safety Commission, and congratulations, Chair Blau and Vice Chair Post. I wanted to give you a quick update from our Transportation and Mobility Commission meeting. My name is Helen Krieger. I'm the liaison. I was not actually there last week, but I got an update from my transportation folks today, and so I wanted to give it to you. The only thing that was on the agenda was about Lime, bike, and scooter parking. So the city has started a new thing now where there's designated parking spaces for Lime, scooters, and bikes. And I don't have time to go into how it was supposed to work before, but how it currently works is that if you don't park your Lime bike or scooter in the designated parking spot, the meter doesn't stop and you continue to get charged. So they've done an informal survey, so that was August 7th that went into effect. And the second week in August, they did an informal survey, and it seems as though scooter violations blocking the sidewalk are down significantly, and the penalties are down 60 to 90% from the first week in August to the second week. That's the good thing. The bad thing is that now there are not scooters quite as close to people within walking distance. There's not as many of these parking corrals as we would like to have. So they were mainly in front of us at the Transportation Commission to ask our input on how we wanted the process to work to request more of these parking corrals. So right now it's a two-step process. You go on to the citizen who wants a parking space, you go on to engage WeHo, and then under dockless mobility. Unfortunately, it is not through the WeHo app right now. And the reason why is because they want folks to be able to see where the current corrals are and then where people have proposed them. So they want you to sort of interact on that map. So you go on there, you request them. Transportation has been given some criteria from engineering. If it fits that criteria, they say yes, they send it to engineering. Engineering then looks at it more closely to see if it will fit safely in the space. And if it does, then they send it on to Lime, and Lime adds it in their app. So these are often not painted corrals. About 30 of them are painted. The other 70 so far are not painted. They just exist within a geofence, an invisible geofence that's in the app. But we would like to paint more of them so that it's clear to folks. There also were several people, both at the Transportation Commission and at the Parks and Recreation, Parks and Infrastructure, I always forget the name of that commission. People had suggested, in cases where there's not enough sidewalk space in residential areas, using an off-street parking space as a spot to park these. And so that's a possibility as well. Right now, our contract with Lime ends in February of next year, and then we already are working on an RFP to multiple different vendors to see who might be the best for this. And of course, we'll also be looking at how this project goes forward. We know there's a lot of appetite for bike share, docked bike share like Metro bikes, but right now they are not expanding their program into West Hollywood. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Helen. And that is all the public comments.
Thank you. Item 11 is commissioner comments. Do any commissioners have any comments at this time? Commissioner Winnick.
Just a talkative evening for me. I just want to put in a plug for the CERT training. I did it a few years ago, and it is time really well spent. I learned a lot. I didn't realize I didn't know. I'm a former lifeguard. I've always maintained my CPR and my first aid training. And there's just a whole lot more to learn. And the fire department does a fabulous job with the training. If you can make the time to do it, you should.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Yeah? Oh. Commissioner Pilarski.
Thank you, Chair. Also a talkative evening for me. I will make it quick. Sorry, where did I put the things? I wanted to raise awareness for the active cooling centers in the city. I actually, when I was speaking to that gentleman, I escorted him into the cooling center because it was 110 degrees out. I also wanted to do a plug for your pets. Walk your pets before 10 and after 5, please. The feet are burning, and I'm like panicking as I see these people walking their pets at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And keep extra jugs of water in your house. That's a really important one. If you see an illegally parked vehicle, please report it. Call parking enforcement, similar to if they're blocking sidewalks, because I see that all the time, and crosswalks and fun stuff like that. And I wanted to give a note to the previous month's public comment about the safety of our parking enforcement officers, which was a public comment by one of our neighbors. I will be following up on this because I did interview one of the parking enforcement officers, and he was confirming some concerns about that, about safety and enforcement. And the last item on the flock discussions, I did attend the neighborhood flock discussion this past week about these extremely concerning things that are happening nationwide, and I know that we've had these discussions in council and we're having them all around the neighborhood, but there are things that are changing and different information is popping up. There are different neighbors that are being assaulted by misreads on these cameras, and that doesn't even include the 24-hour surveillance cameras that haven't even been really, point, tilt, and zoomed around the city of West Hollywood. So I think it is important, Chair, that we have a conversation still about, Flock is updating their guidelines every month, it feels like, and they're having these conventions and things, as we're looking at it nationally. And I think it's important that City of West Hollywood, if we are leading the way, have a conversation about that. I also wanted to bring attention to the overdose awareness pop-up, which is on August 30th, Sunday, August 30th from 2 to 5 at West Hollywood Park. I will plan on being there. I think that's an incredible service that we have with this city. Pop in, get some supplies, learn a little bit more about what's going on in nightlife. And that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Pilarski. I do have a question. I'm going to jump in here now because I've got the mic. So my understanding about what Commissioner Pilarski just was mentioning and what we heard from public comment throughout the evening about concerns on flock is, owing to the fact, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but owing to the fact that City Council has, made a decision on the ALPR policy and contract that, our ability to discuss might be limited. Can you help me understand what our capabilities and constraints are there?
Yes,
Anita?
absolutely, and thank you for posing the question. So the Public Safety Commission serves as kind of an advisory to the City Council. Once the City Council has received recommendations and makes a decision, the commissions in the city are not set up to, in a sense, serve as an appellate or reconsideration body for decisions made by the City Council. Unless the City Council refers a related policy matter to the Commission or staff brings forward a matter within the Commission's assignment responsibilities, the Council's actions represent the city's policy directions. So unless there is some newfound issue or newfound information unrelated to what was already presented to the City Council, which helped them form their decision, we would not re-bring those items back to the Commission or re-agendize an item that's already been decided. However, as a Commission, you always have the right to make recommendations. So if you would like to recommend, for example, that the City Council re-looks at something, you have the option to do that and direct that to staff, and we will then relay that message. But in general, I just want to share this was a very recent decision that was made, so in the absence of any significant new findings or significant new information, making that recommendation, again, is your right, but just something to consider if they already had all of the information that they made their decision based on.
Okay. Commissioner Pilarski, based on your comment. Is there a motion that you want to make?
Yeah, I would like to, I think there was a public comment actually that happened during a commission meeting where there was information that might be new that was presented. So I think it would be important to have another conversation, and I think I would make a motion to have the city council relook at the contract based on the national conversation and what is actually happening out there. Yeah, I would like to make a motion for this panel to just ask our leaders to take another look at the contract and how it's impacted nationally. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, great. Can I get a roll call vote, Commission Secretary? Do we need one? Probably we should. We should do one.
Sure. Commissioner Eng?
Yes.
Commissioner Hallman?
I'm going to abstain.
That was a yes? Abstain, okay. Commissioner Pilarski? Oh,
Yes.
You motioned, yes. Commissioner Winnick?
No.
Vice Chair, you seconded, correct? Chair Blau?
Yes.
Okay. That's majority, yes, so the motion passes.
Thank you. So we will pass this recommendation back to, through our channels, through the City Council Committee.
Thank you. As a follow-up to just really, actually, do you want to do it?
I was just going to say, and I didn't know if I wanted to do it as a friendly amendment or just make the request of staff. I know we've had this conversation. I think the last time we had a public discussion was ahead of the cameras back in December of last year. And I do think it'd be beneficial to also just have another opportunity for the public to weigh in generally and have that conversation. So as part of that recommendation, I hope that we're able to engage with the public again and offer a space that folks can come and bring their feedback in addition to always being able to bring that here in the Public Safety Commission.
So maybe towards that end, and jumping off of one key thing that Commissioner Pilarski mentioned is, Anita, the City Council sort of settled the ALPR topic, but when you look back at the July 20th session, there was discussion to revise and bring back to City Council the policy for the fixed cameras themselves. That's not something that necessarily we've looked at in here, and it's certainly, if it's going to go back to City Council per your guidance, it wouldn't be settled yet, and definitely would be informed by certainly some of the things we've learned with the ALPR cameras, but the fixed cameras present other challenges within policy that we should discuss as well. So for example, like Commissioner Pilarski mentioned, the fixed cameras are active, they're going all the time, they've got a wide field of view, and they have zoom. They've got a tilt and zoom function, if I remember from the contract itself, 25 times optical zoom. That presents a different question about the reasonable expectation of privacy and where that's turned as compared to a license plate reading camera, which is very fixed and triggered. This is something that's kind of always recording and could potentially be steered somewhere, unless policy prevents it. There's a whole host of other things that I could probably, that I could think about in that realm as well. Microphones. I don't know if there's audio detection in the cameras themselves, and how does that overlap with the policy that we've got? Because certainly now we're talking about video, not just static images from the license plate reading cameras. If there's audio, there's a lot more questions I think to say, such that it would benefit. I see the benefit. I'm not gonna push my, I'm not gonna push it far, but I could see the benefit of us agendizing a topic on the policy for the fixed cameras, wherein that provides an avenue, like Vice Chair Post mentioned, to potentially talk about some of the other consistent things in Flock, albeit not the ALPR cameras. Would that be a possibility? if
So
that was
just to
the will?
clarify, your line of thought makes complete sense considering the conversations that have happened. So the item was not requested to come back to council. What was requested was because there's some similarity in the functions of the cameras and the company, that the negotiations that were made with the policy related to the AOPRs, in a sense, be applied to the fixed cameras as well. So it's not an item that's been agendized. City Council did not ask for the item to come back to City Council. It's kind of going to, in a sense, be mirrored to reflect the fixed camera policies as well.
So is there what is the fixed camera policy? Is that something that's visible for the public?
So what was presented for the AOPRs that we shared here a few times, and it was presented to City Council. So in a sense, that's going to be pretty much mirrored for the fixed camera. So once that is released, it will just the same way that the AOPR policy is now published on the website with the sheriffs and the city, that one will be as well.
Okay, and so there wouldn't be feedback opportunities, or what would be the feedback opportunity for that then?
So because the two meetings that we had here where we reviewed the policies, the feedback that you all provided, that we also presented at the staff report meeting to the City Council, that feedback stays the same in terms of the new policies. So taking all that into consideration, all those conversations that happened here at the commission as well as with the City Council at City Council meetings will be applied to the fixed camera policy.
Okay. Vice Chair Post.
Yes, thank you. I want to reiterate Chair Blau's concerns, and I think from my understanding, there were changes from the time that we had seen that policy, that there was amendments to the contract before that had gone before the council. So while I know it's not good process to bring those back here, I think making sure that there's an opportunity to discuss them is important. The other piece that I really wanted to just ask a quick question on was the third piece of all this, which is the drone. I just wanted to ask if the drone has been deployed at all yet, as well as I know we had discussed a plan for some form of dashboard or, again, public-facing notification system of that data. Having just been presented on the dashboard for Human Services, I don't think it will be that extensive, but I just wanted to see if there was a timeline for that dashboard, if those if the drone had been deployed yet.
To my knowledge, and if anybody jumps in if I'm incorrect on this, the new drone program has not been utilized yet in the city. And so that is currently in the process of working through the final details. We want to also make sure we roll that out to the city appropriately. So we are going to schedule, kind of like a press release, make sure everybody's aware of it, and then roll the dashboard out with it prior to its use.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Great, okay. The Public Safety Commission will adjourn to its next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be on Monday, September 28, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the West Hollywood Park Public Meeting Room, Council Chambers.